You've thought about it, haven't you? That one Bluey couple that's just a little too tense, a little too mismatched. Yep, Stripe and Trixie. And as wild as it sounds, it's starting to look like they might actually get divorced in season 4. Now, I know, divorce in Bluey sounds heavier than a muffin tantrum at bedtime. But look closer, and the clues are everywhere. The distance, the silence, the forced smiles. So today, we're diving deep into why Stripe and Trixie might be heading for something the show has never dared to show before. Stripe and Trixie aren't exactly the number couple goals of the Bluey universe. They've been criticised for spoiling their daughters, for how they raise Muffin, and honestly, for existing in the same room without a mediator. They're basically the anti-Bandit and Chili. While Bluey's parents are out here winning Best Emotional Communication Awards, Stripe and Trixie are auditioning for Marriage Story, the animated series. They argue in front of their kids like it's a live studio audience, and both have personal issues that could fill a therapist's calendar till 2030. Trixie's anxiety is practically a side character at this point, and Stripe, bless him, is still figuring out how to be a decent partner and father. According to Bluey's official site, he's learning. Translation, he's one bad nap away from a nervous breakdown. And lately, Trixie's patience has been thinner than Bandit's hairline. Stripe's trying, but you can only keep calm for so long before you start Googling how to fake your own disappearance. The tension's so thick you could spread it on toast, the kind of domestic pressure cooker that usually ends in one thing: divorce papers and joint custody. And I'm not saying that just for the drama. The show itself has been flirting with the idea. Like, come on, even the background music sounds like it's filing for separation. There are several signs showing how Stripe and Trixie's marriage has slowly slid down the emotional garbage chute. The first red flag? FaceyTalk, a wholesome little video call between cousins that quickly turns into a marital meltdown, live on camera. Bluey and Bingo are just trying to talk to Muffin and Socks, but Muffin goes full Tasmanian devil, and Stripe starts chasing her around like he's on an episode of Super Nanny Wild Edition.
Make sure you give Socks a go drawing the silly stuff, okay?
But I'm not finished. Muffy! Socks!
Meanwhile, Trixie's losing it in the background, yelling about parenting styles, and you can practically taste the resentment through the screen. And then comes the moment of truth. Trixie complains that Stripe is never home. Classic line, right up there with "we need to talk" and "it's not you, it's your emotional unavailability." But they end it with a hug. Because, of course, every Bluey episode has to end like a Hallmark card. See, kids, love wins. Yeah, sure. Until next week's argument. But here's the part no one talks about. Muffin wasn't even fazed. Like, her parents are one passive-aggressive sigh away from divorce, and she's sitting there like, ah, yes, Tuesday. That's not calm. That's emotional scar tissue with pigtails. Even Bandit didn't react. The man's seen this circus before. He just looked at the screen like, yep, that's my brother, still losing custody in 1080p. And it's wild because when Bandit and Chili had their tiny spat in Postman, Bluey practically had a nervous breakdown. She started drawing up peace treaties like she was negotiating the Geneva Convention. But Muffin and Socks, they've reached enlightenment. They're sitting in the wreckage of their parents' love like, we'll just wait for the ice cream apology later. And then came the sign, where the tension wasn't just visible, it had its own seat at the wedding. By this point, it's not just petty arguments anymore. It's a full-blown emotional demolition derby. If you piece together Stripe and Trixie's tiny moments, you'll notice their marriage has quietly evolved from quirky couple to potential Netflix docuseries. And seriously, those 5 short scenes they share in The Sign, they're so uncomfortable. You can feel the kids aging emotionally in real time. It starts innocent enough. The girls are rehearsing for the wedding, and then Stripe, the walking definition of oops, my bad, accidentally spills one of Rad's secrets to Frisky. Trixie's reaction? Nuclear. She lights him up faster than a Christmas tree at 3 a.m. on December 25th. And because of that slip-up, the wedding almost gets ruined. You can literally hear Trixie yelling in the background while Stripe just stands there like, well, guess I'm sleeping in the car tonight. And instead of apologizing, what does he do? He gets annoyed and walks off. peak husband energy. You can see it in his face. That mix of regret, pride, and quiet resignation. The same look you get when you realize your marriage counselor has stopped taking your calls. Gone are the days of FaceyTalk reconciliation hugs. Now, it's more like, "Oh, whatever, crazy lady, I'll be in the garage." It's honestly poetic. Two people communicating entirely through sighs and passive aggression. If this were Bandit and Chili, it would have been a tearful moment of growth, maybe even a hug with meaningful background music. But with Trixie and Stripe, it's just another round of who can pretend they're fine longer. Trixie's clearly exhausted. You can see it in her eyes. She's not looking for love anymore. She's looking for a legal loophole. Meanwhile, Stripe acts like a 12-year-old on a sugar rush, still trying to make balloon animals out of his dignity. And that bouquet scene? Chef's kiss. Stripe dives for it like it's the last donut at morning tea, and Trixie gives him that "this is my life now" look. Pure existential regret in 4K. Even Sock starts imitating their fights, which is both hilarious and horrifying, like, oh great, generational trauma, but make it preschool friendly. And then, a few scenes later, they're dancing together, because nothing says, "We're totally fine," like spinning in circles while your marriage burns quietly in the background. Their relationship isn't just hinting at divorce anymore, it's standing on a chair, waving a neon sign that says, "Free me!" I mean, come on, fighting every 5 minutes? That's not love, that's cardio with paperwork. By the end of the sign, Stripe is absolutely plastered, like karaoke with your ex's new boyfriend drunk, and Trixie, she just leaves him there. Doesn't even flinch when he passes out in the bushes like a raccoon who missed rehab. So yeah, maybe all those endless arguments push Stripe into a long-term relationship with his true soulmate, alcohol. Because when your marriage feels like a group project where only one person's trying, sometimes a bottle of wine just gets you. And honestly, this kind of thing doesn't just happen once. It's pretty clear they've had more reruns of this fight than Bluey has of Magic Xylophone. Maybe that's even why Stripe prefers working late. Not for the money, but because the office printer argues less. But how did they even get here? Weren't you supposed to marry someone you love, not someone you tolerate like a slow Wi-Fi connection? Let's start with Stripe. Stripe is the kind of guy who wants freedom, fun, and zero responsibilities. Basically, a golden retriever with commitment issues. He's the type to say, "I love my kids," but only through the window while he's driving away. Even in FaceyTalk, Pizza Girls, and Sleepover, you can see the pattern. In FaceyTalk, he's glued to his phone like he's scrolling through Ways to Fake Your Own Death, Parent Edition. In Pizza Girls, he buys muffin and socks toys, not because he loves them, but because silence is cheaper than therapy. And Sleepover, that episode practically turned into a PSA for birth control. Let's be real, Stripe's not the family man type. Unlike Rad, who actually matured, or Bandit, who's basically Chili's golden retriever husband with a PhD in apologizing. Honestly, being Chili's simp probably saved him from being another Stripe. Meanwhile, our boy Stripe is out here testing everyone's patience. A true endurance sport. This dog was built for bachelor life, not bedtime routines. And Trixie? She's the mum who just wanted a nice house, 2 kids, and maybe a maid who wouldn't judge her search history. Instead, she got a husband who thinks helping with the kids means not losing them at the mall. Trixie definitely messed up the casting choice for her life partner. She thought she was marrying a chill guy, not a walking midlife crisis in dog form. And look, she's no saint either. Trixie's got the patience of a microwave timer and a temper that could power a small city. If she's not fighting with Stripe, she's probably rehearsing for the next one. Sure, disagreements are normal. But Trixie doesn't just disagree. She directs the argument like a Broadway show. It's always her way or no way. And Stripe's childish attitude doesn't help. He's the type to say, "sorry," and then immediately explain why it wasn't his fault. Maybe back in the FaceyTalk days, Stripe actually tried. But after years of reruns, he probably realized it's easier to surrender and let Trixie believe she's right. At this point, their apologies are basically scripted. Trixie yells, Stripe sighs, everyone pretends it's fine. cut to next episode. And honestly, you can see Trixie snapping too. Remember when she made Muffin wear the cone of shame? That wasn't discipline. That was a cry for help in plastic form. Even the vet watching that episode probably went, "Yikes." Then, in the sign, she doesn't even try to understand Stripe. She just scolds him like he's another one of her kids. At this point, they're not partners. They're unpaid roommates with shared custody of trauma. The saddest part? Muffin and Socks are front row spectators to this domestic soap opera. Their parents argue so often, it's probably become the soundtrack of their childhood. Stripe used to try to fix things, but now he just plays dead until the storm passes. And Trixie? She's the classic "I'm staying for the kids" mum, which is noble. If it didn't also teach the kids what not to do, is that healthy? Of course not. But hey, in the Bluey universe, even emotional damage comes in bright colours and gentle music. Maybe some of you believe that Stripe and Trixie are just going through a rough patch, that things will get better and they'll magically become a happy family again. Sure. And maybe Muffin will suddenly stop screaming like a malfunctioning car alarm. After all, Joe Brum has said he only wants happy stories in Bluey, nothing tragic. So that means Stripe and Trixie will stay together forever, right? Well, I don't see it that way. Just because Joe Brum says no tragedy doesn't mean he won't sneak in a little emotional destruction when we least expect it. The man made us cry over a dead bird and called it wholesome television. Look at Winton's dad's divorce. Subtle but brutal. The terrier's dad? Straight up homeless. And don't even get me started on Copycat. That episode turned every adult viewer into a broken tissue dispenser. And let's not forget poor Bingo, who's practically been through enough trauma to qualify for a support group. Yeah, Bluey might look cheerful, but sometimes it feels like Pixar with a side of emotional damage. So, yes, Joe Brum clearly loves adding a bit of pain with the smiles, which is why the divorce of Stripe and Trixie feels not just possible, but inevitable. They're stuck in an endless loop of fighting and pretending it's fine, kind of like your parents' marriage during the holidays. Their patience is gone, the kids are watching, and honestly, the bushes where Stripe sleeps at night are starting to look like his new address. But maybe, just maybe, divorce would actually make them happier. There are couples who thrive apart. You know, people who can't live together but love each other just enough to text happy birthday once a year. Trixie might finally relax, Stripe might finally grow up, or at least learn how to apologize without burping mid-sentence, and Muffin and Socks might finally see what a healthy home looks like. Besides, Winton's dad survived his divorce and came out smiling. There's hope! So who knows, maybe a Bluey divorce is exactly the kind of happy ending Joe Brum has been teasing all along. Because sometimes love doesn't mean staying together. So what do you think, friends? Should Stripe and Trixie finally call it quits? Or are we just over-analysing two cartoon dogs who clearly need couples therapy and a Netflix password of their own? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me, if you had to pick one, who's keeping Muffin?